So as I told you, every instance what we are storing in the database. So it might be either work object is an instance. Work object is an instance. And similarly, if I'm trying to create one property is also an instance. So work object is instance of this particular class group, and property will be instance of rule obj property, right? So this is the class which will be holding all the instances of the properties. Okay, if I'm trying to create one property, that will be considered as an instance of this class. If I'm trying to create one section, that will be created as an instance to one class. If I'm trying to create one when rule, it has to be created as an instance. Likewise, everything in PRPC has to be considered as an instance. Instance meaning just like in record in the database table. So whatever we are doing, it has to be stored into the database table as in record, right? Similarly, in PRPC, it has to consider itself as an instance, and it has to be for sure stored into one of the class connected to the table. So all the properties what I'm creating, it will be considered as an instance. So this is one of the instance, this is one instance, this is another instance. Likewise, if we just create any section, it will be created as an instance in one class called rule HTML section. Okay, so if each and every instance should be considered, each and everything should be considered as in one instance of the particular class. This is for the property and this is for the section. Similarly, what is the instance class for when conditions? What is the instance class for data transforms? What is instance class of activities? We cannot able to say. We cannot able to remember for each and everything. For property or flow, for flow action or section. So for few things we can able to remember. But if someone is asking you about the instance class of something like when condition, let us say, or instance class of report definition, or instance class of data pages, how can we say we cannot able to remember all this? But in interviews they will be asking you. So wantedly they will be asking you the instance class of, what's the instance class of property, that's okay. What's the instance class of activity? Okay, what's the instance class of decision table? What's the instance class of decision tree? So wantedly they will be asking these kind of questions. So why we will not be remembering each and everything for sure. So why still they will be asking you here is you have to understand the concept and we have to just say the trick. So I'll tell you how the trick, how the instance class will be calculated. Okay. So as I was discussing, everything will be considered as an one of the instance. If it is stored in the data table as an instance, it should be having one unique identity. For that, if I'm creating the work object ID, so work object ID is also the instance of the particular class. So if I just click on POR page, at the last we can able to see that pzInsKey is showing it as an, so this is the name of my class, right? And this is the work object ID. I mean the class key, unique class key. Similarly, let me take the pzInsKey of another class. Sorry, another work object. So I'm trying to open any of the random work object ID, and I want to check the pzInsKey of this. If you want to get pzInsKey, we already know that there will be one OOTP property called pzInsKey, and we can able to just check for that. So this is the pzInsKey. Okay. So based on this, what we are trying to understand here is for the work objects. So pzInsKey will be its class name wherever we are creating the work object IDs and the unique class key. So PYID is the unique class key of this particular class group. Similarly, PYID is the unique class key of this class group also. So ultimately here it will be showing the class key, I mean the primary key only, primary key of that particular table or class. So based on these two example, we can able to identify pzInsKey of the work object instance as class group. So this is the class group and its class key. Ultimately, we should be calling this as an instance, instance class. So all the work object IDs are the instances of the class groups, right? So this particular work object ID is the instance of this class. This particular work object ID is the instance of this class. So based on this, pzInsKey we can able to define generically as instance class space class key. Correct? Can I define like this? Both of you agree now? So the definition of pzInsKey will be instance class space class key. Now let me open anything. So for everything, for every work object ID, we'll be having the same thing. So it will be showing the instance class on this particular work object ID should be stored as an instance of this class. That's why this will be called as an instance class, and this will be called as a class key. So finally, the definition of an instance class, the definition of pzInsKey will be instance class space class key. Interview. These are all interview questions.
Okay, Chandra, I have one doubt. So
Yes.
each and every class have a single instance. Whenever we are running our work object, right? So that time each and every records will be created with the primary ID, right?
If we are creating work object ID, it should be creating one new record in the database table. Correct, no? So it should be creating new record in the database table with the PYID and PZPVStream blob data. So once it is creating new record, it should be considered as an instance in the PRPC also. So if I just click on this, what are all the records? What are the number of records we have in the table? Those will be created like in those many instances. So just to compare the instance with the records only. So this is completely user interface and that is completely like database table. Okay, there will be one table connected to this class and there will be these many records stored as an instances there. Okay, suppose if I am creating new work object ID, we will be having only one record insert in the database table. Similarly, there should be only one class, one instance created here. So both are same. Actually, we will be calling this as an instance and we will be calling that as a record. So in the database table, when it is getting stored, it should be stored with one pzInsKey. Okay, ultimately, what are all the properties we are seeing here in the clipboard? So those are to be stored into the database table, no, for sure?
Yeah, it's stored. So then in a single class have multiple instances, right?
Yes, with single class, this is a single class. I'm trying to create multiple work object IDs, no? So this is one record, this is another record. Single class can able to have multiple instances. These are the multiple records. So each record will be having one unique thing called pzInsKey.
Okay, so then each and every time that the pzInsKey will be changed or it will be in the same number, instance number?
So instance of work object ID number will be unique all the time, right? It will be changing all the time. If I'm trying to create new work object ID, one new ID will be generated. So automatically instance class will be same, right? Unique, right? Okay.
Unique for each records, right?
Yes, but unique for each record.
It will be generated for different numbers with the class.
Okay. So if it is getting different number generated automatically, as per the definition of this pzInsKey, unique this will be separate record and this will be separate record. Suppose if I have same kind of record like this 61. So for the if I'm trying to create two different work object IDs, pzInsKey will be stored as like this one for that record, and pzInsKey for this will be stored like this. Okay, understood? Suppose if you are trying to create the work object IDs from the implementation class, and there also if you are giving work prefix as AG60 only, let us say. So even though class key is same, class instance class is getting changed. So all the time these values will not be equal. All the time these values will be different. So for one class, for sure there should not be same work object ID. If it is having same work object ID in two different classes, instance class will be different. So anytime these two will not be different. So pzInsKey will be unique all the time. Agreed?
Yeah, I will.
Okay, now I'll ask you one question. So this is the basic derivation or the definition of the pzInsKey. Now, anyone can answer. Umar Tolani. I'm trying to create one new section. Okay. So how it will be stored? Where it will be stored actually? In which class it will be stored? As I told you, section is the
framework.
yeah. That's okay. Any of the sections we create, either in the framework or implementation, it has to be stored in its instance class. Instance class here meaning this will not be the instance class for the section or any rule. So this will be the instance class only for the work object IDs. So on clicking on this, what are all the records we are getting? Those will be the instances. Now if I click on this, I will not be getting anything data related to sections or the properties, right? So meaning this class is not the instance class for the section or the properties. Instead, if I click on this, I'll be getting all the instances of the section rules. So meaning this is the class which will be acting like an instance class for the section. Okay, getting my point? Similarly, there is one more class called rule obj property. So this is the class where I can able to get the instances of all the properties. Only by clicking on this, we can able to get the properties list. If we click on here, we will not be getting the property list. We will not get the property list by clicking here. So ultimately, this will be the instance class for the properties. On clicking on that, what are all the instances we are creating, we are getting, that will be considered as a particular class or the table connected to that will to hold all these values. Okay. So if I create two sections in my framework work class, if I create two sections, ultimately if that particular section rules what are creating just now, I mean the two rules are to be considered as an instance of this class only, like rule HTML section only. Okay. So their class key will be the ID name, whatever the thing I'm trying to give. So let me explain it. So this is the instance class. If I click on this instance class, I'll be getting all the instances of the particular sections. So here, what will be the class key? This will be the instance class, and this will be the key. Key meaning the ID for this. So key meaning this ID only. Okay, got my point? So now if I want to get the pzInsKey of this particular instance, so if I'm trying to create one section rule, for sure it has to be stored into database table, and for sure it has to be stored as an instance to one of the class. So this is the instance of this class. So the pzInsKey of this section rule will be, can someone tell me? Based on this. So what will be the pzInsKey of this section rule? The instance class here will be rule HTML section space class key. What will be the class key? This will be the class key. Clear? This is how we have to derive the pzInsKey. So there will be one table connected to this particular class also. So for each and every table, if it is having instances, it should be having one database table connected to that. And even in the database table, what are all the instances we are seeing here, those are to be stored as in records there. So for each and every record in the database table, or for each and every instance, there should be one pzInsKey column. That's for sure. Okay. So in order to find the pzInsKey of this particular instance, of this particular section instance, we can able to get the value like this. This is the definition and this is the value. Understood now? Umar Tulani?
Yes.
Suppose you tell me pzInsKey for this now. So this is one of the instance of this class. So now if I want to have the pzInsKey of this particular record or any record, third record. So can you tell me this pzInsKey?
CHG claims dash work space customer search TB.
CHG dash claims. So this is the instance class for this property, correct?
Yeah.
So if I click on this, this is the class you're talking about, right? Both are same, no? Correct, Tulani?
Yeah.
So if I click on this, what are we getting? So meaning this is not the instance class.
Instance class.
How are we getting these results? By clicking on this class, no? So this should be the instance class, right?
Oh,
Similarly, for the section, how are we getting these results? By clicking on one class. This will be the instance class. And similarly, how are we getting all these properties? So this will be the instance class, and this will be our section, I mean key ID.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm.
Now clear now?
Yeah.
yes.
So now this is not that easy. I'll ask you one more question.
Okay.
Okay. So okay. So can you tell me the instance class of this particular section rule? So this is the section rule, right? Can you tell me the instance class of this?
Instance.
Rule HTML rule dash HTML dash section space customer details section.
Okay.
Customer detail section. Yes.
So this is the thing you're talking. Okay.
Mm.
So this is okay. Now I'm trying to save as this in the implementation class. Create and open. So can you tell me the class of this? Sorry, I have deleted in the wrong class. Let me delete this. So I'm trying to save it. This is the for this instance class is this one. That's what you told me, right? Now I'm trying to make few modifications.
So I'm going to be able to share my screen. So that I understand how this works.
So did you understand what I did? So there is one section which is in the framework work class. I have just to save as this into my implementation class. Got that point? What I didn't know? Okay. So for this, what you have told me is pzInsKey will be rule HTML section dash customer details section. Now, can you tell me pzInsKey of this one? You can able to see and tell me. Got my question?
Yeah. So so the instance class should be the same, right?
So you mean to say that you'll be having the same value, correct?
Yes.
So
But
what's the
then it
definition
won't
of
be.
what's the definition of pzInsKey?
It is unique ID.
It should be unique. That's for sure. Then how are we getting this one? So the thing here is we can able to have the instance class. We can able to have this particular instance in multiple classes also. So for that, PRPC has made few modifications to the pzInsKey definition. So pzInsKey definition should be instance class space rule class space class key. So PRPC had made few modifications and changed the definition of the pzInsKey. So the definition here will be like this one: instance class space class key, rule class space class key. The thing here is instance class will be same all the time for the section. This will not change. What is the rule class? Rule class meaning from where we are calling this rule. Okay, so So now is this unique?
Yeah.
Lani, you also agree?
Yes.
So PRPC has made few modifications to the pzInsKey definition, so that from wherever we are calling this, we'll be including this rule class also. So here now we have to say the pzInsKey of this particular rule should be rule HTML section space this particular class space this one, and for this pzInsKey will be rule HTML section space this particular rule class space this one. So all the time we're getting this value unique. Correct now?
Mm.
So is this applicable for the work object IDs? For work object ID, we are seeing something like this only all the time. So are we getting anything like rule class and instance class? So this both will be same if you observe.
Yeah.
Correct now? So instance class is the same one as well as the rule class will be the same one. So blindly remember that for work object IDs, pzInsKey will be instance class based class key, and for other rules, the section rule or the property rule, it will be having like this one, other rules. Okay, for other rules, the definition of pzInsKey will be instance class space, class key space, rule class space, class key. So if this is my definition, my my pzInsKey will be unique all the time, right? If I'm trying to have this section created in the multiple classes also, all the time that class will be changed. So this will be unique all the time. Agreed? Lani, Uma, both of you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now I'll ask you one more thing. So pzInsKey of this one is this one. This is the, let me delete this. So pzInsKey of this particular rule is this one. You agree with this, right? Correct now?
Yes.
Now I'm trying to just check for the another thing. I'm going for version number 1.
Okay.
So what will be the pzInsKey of this one? So these two I want to compare. So this is the version number 2 and this is version number 1. Likewise, I can able to have some hundreds of versions also. Okay, each and everything will be like in separate instance. So this will be one of the record in this particular class and this will be one of the record in another class. So what is the pzInsKey of this one? If you say the same, then it will not be the main definition of pzInsKey will be violating. So pzInsKey should not be same for any of the two rules. Okay, so the thing here is we have to make few modifications to the definition of the pzInsKey. I'll be including timestamp. I'll not be including anything like version. I'll be including timestamp. For sure, two versions will not be having same timestamps. Even if you are creating at a time also, there will be some fraction of seconds difference. So that's why they will be including timestamp at the last. So ultimately, this is the final thing. I will not make any modifications here. So this is the final thing. So pzInsKey of any other rule will be instance class space rule class space class key plus timestamp. So for the version number 2, I'll be having separate timestamp, and for the version number 1, I'll be having another timestamp. So all the time this pzInsKey value will be unique. Correct now? So pzInsKey of the work object ID will be instance class space class key. This will not be changed for sure. And for any other rule, for section or for properties or when conditions or database, anything, data transforms, anything, pzInsKey for any other class, the definition is this one: instance class space rule class space class key space timestamp. If we are creating hundreds of versions of the particular rule also, timestamp will be making difference for each and everything. Okay, so it should be having 100 different pzInsKeys of the particular class. So this is very important. Okay, now clear, right, as of now?
Yeah.
So now I'll ask you one thing. So this is for HTML, this is for section. We can able to understand this. I told you, no, so you came to know. Now I'll ask you the instance class of data transform. You cannot able to tell. Instance class of activities, we cannot remember. Instance class of property, we can able to say, that is rule dash obj dash property. and instance class of flow action. We cannot able to say everything will be like an instance, right? Flow action rule what we are creating, it's also to be stored as an instance in one class, else we cannot able to retrieve the data. So it has to be stored into one class. So where it will be stored, in which class, what's the instance class of that rule flow action? Okay, for that there will be one trick. So once you identify the pzInsKey, we can able to get it, right? Got my point? If you want to identify the instance class of data transform, we need not remember this. Instead, if we can able to get the pzInsKey of that particular rule, then I'll be getting pzInsKey of that rule like this. So based on that, I can able to identify the instance class now. If we go to the activity and if we can able to get the pzInsKey of that particular rule, or for any activity rule, if we get pzInsKey of any activity rule, we can able to directly get the instance class of that particular activity. So agree with this?
Yeah.
So ultimately the question here is how to get the pzInsKey. So what will be the pzInsKey of this particular section? What will be the pzInsKey of this particular work object ID? For work object ID, we already know. We can go to the clipboard and we can able to see in the pzInsKey column. And similarly, in the database also we can see. Let me tell you that later. Similarly, what is the pzInsKey of this one? What is the pzInsKey of this one? I mean, this one. For each and everything, as I told you, we can able to do it from the user interface only. We need not go for database and just check for the particular table. Suppose if I just want to check for the pzInsKey of the first record. Okay, if you are having limited knowledge as of now, how can we do that? We'll be going to the particular table which is connected to this class, and I'll be searching for the table in the database table, and for sure there should be one heading called pzInsKey, and there I will be identifying the pzInsKey of that. Okay, this is one thing. And the main thing is we need not go for database table for any time. All the time we can able to do it from the PRPC only. So if I can able to get the instance class of any property, sorry, if I can able to get the pzInsKey of anything, then I can able to easily identify its instance class also. So if I just getting instance class of activity, sorry, if I'm just getting pzInsKey of the activity, then based on the pzInsKey of that particular rule, activity rule, I can able to identify the instance class. No? So in interviews they will be asking you, what is the instance class of when conditions? What's the instance class of flow actions? What is the instance class of flow? So in that case, what you have to answer is, I will be simply getting the pzInsKey value of that particular thing, particular any kind of rule. Then I can able to identify the instance class. So this is how I can able to make use of the instance class. This is what you have to answer. Okay. The question here is how to get the pzInsKey. So we can able to get the pzInsKey in 3 ways. So most of the people doesn't know this. Let me tell you. So if I want to get the pzInsKey of this particular rule, this should be like in one instance, right? Then just click on Shift plus F8. If I just click on Shift plus F8, I'll be getting pzInsKey open directly. Just copy it and put it here for the comparison. So what it is showing? pzInsKey of this particular section rule, what we are discussing so far. So rule HTML section is the instance class. Based on the pzInsKey, I can able to get the instance class, and this is the rule name. So rule class, and this is the class key, and here it is showing the timestamp. So this is exactly meeting with our definition, right? That is the thing. So wherever the thing, for whatever the for whatever the pzInsKey you want to get, open that particular rule. So open this property, open any property, and click on Shift plus F8. Then we will be getting the pzInsKey of that rule. So the definition here is, based on the pzInsKey of that particular property, we can able to say instance classes of the property will be this one, rule obj property. If we just copy and paste it here, we can able to see all the instances. Okay, so this will be the rule class, and this will be the class key, and this will be the timestamp. For sure, version number 1 and version number 2 will not be having same timestamps. Let me show you that also. So this is for the version number 1. I think I have copied this only. So we can see both these are different. So that the last one. So this timestamp will be making the difference and making this pzInsKey as the unique thing. So based on the pzInsKey, if we can able to get the pzInsKey, I can simply get the instance class also. One way of getting the pzInsKey is open that particular instance and click on Shift F8. For the work object IDs, we can directly check in the clipboard, and for any other rules, we should be opening that rule and we should be clicking on Shift F8. Suppose if someone is asking you about the activities, what's the instance class of activities? Open that activity rule, any activity rule. And click on Shift F8. So this is the instance class for the activities. If someone is asking about the decision tables, what we'll be doing? We need not create the decision table here, and we need not again open it for the pzInsKey. Instead, we can able to go for records. So if I just click on records, I can able to see all the data segregated here. So decision table or decision tree will be under decision category. Open this, click on decision table. We'll be getting all the instances. Open any OOTP decision table rule.